Ricœur, around psychoanalysis. Writings and conferences. When the analysand repeats instead of remembering, he repeats under the influence of resistance. A patient ignores the difference between reality and imagination. Mathos learns through suffering, says the chorus of Aeschylus' Agamemnon. Typical itinerary of the analytic experience. Everything that affects the misunderstanding of oneself also affects the misunderstanding of the other. Psychoanalysis pursues the project of recognition that Hegel placed at the summit of ethical life. Claim to truth, to the idea of an intelligible account of existence. The analyst suggests to his patient to accept the interpretation which verifies the theory. Suspicion of suggestion. The phenomenon of mourning brings us back to the very heart of psychoanalysis. She recognizes fantasy as the paradigm of what for her constitutes psychic reality. Generally, many repressed memories only become traumas afterwards. It is the work of memory that is involved in the narrative structure of existence. Freud ignores the distinction between motive and cause. Psychoanalysis uses an explanation in terms of causes in order to reach an understanding in terms of motives. Self-understanding must pass through a relinquishment of the self, an abdication of the claim to dominate meaning. The appropriation of one's own meaning is first of all disappropriation of oneself. The analytic situation is a speech relation. Desire is forced to speak. To speak is to address another. The analysand becomes capable of speaking about himself by speaking to another. Go from an unintelligible story to an intelligible story. The analysand suffers, disturbed by symptoms, behaviors, thoughts that have no meaning for him. Narcissistic wounds are part of life. The challenge of life is not autonomy but kindness, the constitution of a self and a relationship with others. Facing man an absurd commandment, love your neighbor as yourself, an impossible requirement, love your enemies. Man is not this being thirsty for love. Freud is the one who discovered that the ceremonial of the obsessed has a meaning. Spinoza calls imaginatio, the deceptive plane of knowledge, central problem. Imagination, an illusion side and a creation side. Man is a being who understands himself by interpreting himself. Freud denounces narcissism, which is resistance to all truth, resistance to Copernican astronomy, which teaches us that our Earth is not the center of the world. Darwinian biology, which teaches us that our species is not the lord of the life, and Freudian psychoanalysis, which reveals to us that the ego is not master in its house. Three great humiliations suffered by narcissism. The id ignores time, contradiction, and obeys only the pleasure principle. Become truly humble.